Well, again, I thought I would just come on to YouTube and try to help people who may be related to or know people who's got schizophrenia. I have schizophrenia, and hearing voices most of the time when my brain's not really active trying to do something. Trying to keep myself active can help to reduce the voices and stop me from becoming preoccupied or distracted by them so much. For people who are, I've had schizophrenia since 1997, but for people who are trying to reach maybe a family member who has a mental health issue, including schizophrenia, it may be frustrated by the way that we try to by the way that we are to you. We're always sort of it's like in our minds it's like we're rehearsing conversations with people all the time in our minds, and we're kind of it's almost like we're trying to manipulate what's going on in our heads with these conversations and people's voices that we hear. That's often people that we know and love, people who have been close to us, people who love us. But we try to make the negative or the frustrations that we have, or try to get people to respond the way we expect them to, so that we can sort of affirm the disease and what it's doing to us. Voices, what we hear is not necessarily all destructive ones. Some of the time we're motivated to do things like get onto YouTube and talk about what it is that's on our minds and what frustrates us. And having that kind of outlet can be good, but if we let that take over, it's almost like we're trying to justify this disease. The disease of schizophrenia is a way that we can talk to other people as well. That's like we start to think that that other people hear our voice in their head. It's like a telepathy sort of thing happening. It's really hard when you to try and determine or make up your own mind to say that yes, I'm practicing these conversations in my head because I've had so much solitude of people. I didn't have a lot of friends or whatever. I went on a bad trip. Something happened. That some kind of trauma or some kind of social issue happened where my mind split from. Well, it split. The brain's got two halves, but for some reason, I started to see myself as someone I could relate to. It's so trying to explain it. Who can explain your mind? Our minds. But these voices that I hear, that I actually think sometimes that I'm able to communicate with people, and that they communicate with me. It's like a telepathy thing happening, and we've already practiced these conversations, and when we go to have the conversations with those people, it can be like like you can't understand what we're talking about, but it's because like we become incoherent or something. But it's because we're already having conversations with people that we know like I said before, we're already having the conversations in our head before we actually see you and try to relate to you. This level of self-analysis that I've been able to reach is I can't explain how it's happened, but I went through a few experiences where I had to do some analysis. I studied the drugs that I used to use, how they were made, how they affect our bodies, how they affect our minds. I studied the people that I used to take the drugs with. I just became separate to what I don't take drugs anymore. Don't hardly ever get drunk. Virtually never. Don't smoke. Don't do a lot of things. But what I still do is rehearse these conversations in my mind and with my mouth, and I speak out loud. But I think it's more like a prayer these days. It's more like a prayer that defining my boundaries, or the growing of my wings. Because in the Bible, the angels have wings, and it's like angels know the boundaries of love. The saints have angel zones like around. I don't know how much you know about this magic crap and all the religious bullshit that's going on with it, but all of that shit, what you can see, and then what people can use to manipulate other people, it's easy for them to manipulate you into a destructive state and make you a demon who they can use who they can use when you are dead to manipulate the living. You might think, oh yeah, that's cool, but a lot of these cunts, they've got no intention of manipulating people who their only interest is to have an easy looking life and to reduce the amount of competition that there is for them. And the more intelligent we are, and a lot of people with schizophrenia and mental illness are intelligent, and because we get led away with these voices, and we think that we could already have these conversations and that you know what we're talking about, we seem delusional. It's very easy for us to assume the worst about people. I do. Everyone does assume the worst about ourselves. But yeah, my main point for this video was to let people know that when we're having a schizophrenia, people are trying to get through to us, that we've already had these conversations in our mind, and we're trying to get what we're trying to make that conversation real. It's so difficult to explain how a brain works, but it's probably really quite simple if you know the right terminology and stuff. Psychiatrists, yeah, they'll get in your head, they'll fuck with your head, and they do that on purpose to make sure that we're not going to be fucking dangerous. If you've been told to take medication, I can take it. I can take it. There's always the option later on, as you begin to see things a little differently and realise as a schizophrenic that these conversations just going on in my head, they're not actual real conversations. They're not actually real people. They're not actually, it's nothing about schizophrenia as anything more than a disease. Some people might hear a voice once in a blue moon, comes to them and they have some form of belief about it, and they never actually talk to anyone about it because they don't have to. They're not really moved by it so much. But some of us who's a threat to to the destruction of our planet, the destruction of our people, and the fucking lies or the clouds that people, that an elite master group wants to control everybody with. It's like, yeah, right. People have known about it for thousands of years that there's fuckers who don't want to fucking do their fair share. And let's face it, it's human nature. We can blame them and accuse them and everything else, but it's human nature to do it the easy way, to let something, to somehow get out of having to do all the work. We've got a tap coming into the house. Well, thousands of years ago, you were off with a bucket. And even the bucket wasn't a thing. You had to walk a while to get near water. And you probably had to compete with the other animals and the other people and other tribes, whatever, to have a place near the water where you didn't have to go too far to get it. Some bright space said, well, what? I'm not that tough. I'm not going to fight for my right to be near the water. All I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bucket and I'll carry that fucker back up. I'll have a tank. That's it, mate. I'll have a tank of water. And no wonder where I am, and I'll sneak down there and I'll get a bucket of water, bring it back, and I'll be right. I'll provide for my family that way. You could use your head. And people have been doing it for thousands of years. Yeah, we got to work our way around this, screaming and yelling and getting upset with these people who have worked out how to do it. It's like, hey, he's pinching out water with his bucket. We'll catch that fucker and make sure he can't get us anymore, get any more water, and his family will be fucked. It'll be our water. It's like, well, what's he doing that for? What are they doing that for? Why do they have to? Because it's their family as well. But in actual fact, when we can bring this on, we realise that there's plenty of water, not just coming down the river, but underground. There's plenty of water in the sky. There's a couple of different ways we can do things. So we have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So the Father, you can provide. All right, let's forget about the terminology, because we're going to have an instant trigger. God, trigger. Jesus, trigger. Holy Spirit, trigger, just because of the terminology. So you can have this provider. You can provide some water for somebody to feel good. You can have some water, receive some water from somebody to feel good. You can help other people to find water. And that's the goodness that everybody can help each other with. We know where to find water. That's like a group thing or a spirit thing where we're sort of in the know. We know where to get water. Putting these terminologies into perspective is how we're going to be able to get the point across. And I think the point is that none of us are stupid. We all have something to put into it, but we have to try and get ourselves into a position where we're able to contribute. Being a Holy Father is a massive, a grape, an olive, a black pill. It can also be a hole. It can be a hole in your hands, hole in your feet. You just get stuck. You're stuck somewhere. You've been entrapped. You've been put in a position where there's no way. You've got to make the best you can of it. So, okay, you're going to fucking entrap me. You're going to put me in this position with these problems that I have to try and fucking work my way through. That's okay. I'm not going to get emotional and aggressive about it. I just have to sort of think through it. Put it in perspective. I've got a busy road out here. You can look out now and think, all these people What do they do? I used to ride a bicycle every day, and I would think, look, they're just filling the air up full of gas. There's something news every day. Environment fucked. The air's fucked. It's all going to be. And I think they're just trying to live their lives. They're just trying to live their lives as best they can. We're all lazy. We all want to get something for nothing. What are they doing? They're being lazy, trying to get something for nothing. That's pretty much who we all are. We're people. And that's what we do. And if we allow other people to do it, then we're doing it ourselves. But we also need to think. It would be great if there was no sort of limit. And see cash money, something that puts a limit on what. See, all that was good. It was good. It was a way to sort of govern and get people motivated. But there's a lot of people are losing their motivation for it. They're becoming frustrated. They're seeing through some of the placebos that were put in place for us to be motivated by it. Most times you see through that a little bit. And once you see through things, you're able to see that it's like it loses its power. And I think it has to lose its power for us to regenerate an operation, like an operating system, to regenerate it somehow where the limits, where the limitations were put on each other to motivate each other and help everyone to come together to seek a common goal. It's like we all want to be safe. We all want to make a family, and it doesn't matter if your family is me, myself, and I. You still want to be safe. You still want to have a family, because if me is not all right, I's not going to be all right, and myself is the same. So me and myself or I is still going to be. If one of them is not getting the right provided for, the other two is not going to be there. Well, but what I'm saying is, everybody pretty much wants the same thing. Be safe place for the people that you love. It doesn't have to be family, people that you care about. But a safe place for them, and a safe place to provide for them. And I could put something into a perspective of water. So everybody wants to have a drink of water every now and again. We need a place where we can get a drink of water. We need a place where that water is healthy. And we need a place where we can. I'm not sure how to put that. I'm not as good as some people at putting parables together, but there's something there you could use with water, I'm sure. But the point you're getting at is that this is the end of this video. So hopefully it's helped you to try and understand where people with schizophrenia, like myself, or somebody that you care about, or mental illness is at. We've already had the conversation in our heads, where we have an attitude towards the world and the way that it is, and the way that we're limited. And how foolish that really is in a physiological, psychological. Just how foolish that thing is with the limitations that try to put on everything and foolery that goes with it. I think songs as we're believing these voices in our heads, songs we think that they're real people, we're in a bad way. it's very hard to relate to us. Trying to convince somebody that they're not able to, that's a decision, that's a point where we reach in this illness, I think. I mean, I had it since 97, so there's other people that's had schizophrenia for, like 5 years. And somehow they're able to be able to cope with it on medication because it stops the voices. Myself, I couldn't stop them. I never really got to be able to stop the voices from happening. It seemed like they did, but it was also felt like I was just kind of concussed while and the limitations that I put on my intelligence and to be able to absorb what's going on around me was also affected. So the medication certainly helped so far as getting into hot water was concerned. But in the long term, I know I needed to be able to change my habits. I couldn't get into the habit of taking drugs to solve everything. But that's my personal thing. A lot of people is pro-drugs. You know, like drugs is good. Drugs is helping. Drugs make me feel good. Drugs help me to have a perspective on life. They help me to participate in life. They help me in so many ways to enjoy life. But it's every bit of a placebo as anything else. There's natural things you can do to motivate yourself or to reach an audience or whatever it may be. There's so much we can do, there's so much we can't do, and what we can't do, we need to be able to see why it is we can't do it. And why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Anyway, rambling on about it's not going to help me get anything done. I sort of woke up this morning and didn't really have anything on my mind what I wanted to do today. It's a Saturday, I usually spend some time watching some YouTube. On Saturday, I was on my, I was subscribed to Reading McLeod. I can see that he's got some issues that he's dealing with at the moment concerning his family. Well, my family's all dead. My dad and my mum, anyway. But I didn't have the best relationship with him. Some of the decisions they made on my behalf and what they thought was helping me, I don't believe actually helped me. But it's just like I said, a couple of olives that had to go into the pot, you know, chuck all that bit of fruit. I say you pair of fucking idiots. But what good is that going to do? They're fucking things they could point at their own parents and say, you fucking idiot. And then their parents would stand to their parents and do. And we would all be standing at the top of the fucking mountain of fucking people. One of them was, you're all fucking idiots because it was just two people who were only following their hearts, wandered away from the group, tried to make their own thing, and some smart cunts got the idea, oh, you want part of our fucking tribe now because your tribe didn't want you to be married, they didn't want to used to be in love, they had you were supposed to be set up to marry somebody else, like Adam and Eve I'm talking about, and they wandered off and joined another tribe, and I said, oh, you want to be part of our tribe, you had to fucking work for it. And I get the idea, these dumb cunts are fucking working for us. Let's fucking get some more of these cunts in to fucking work for us, and then we can build a whole civilization. And so what are we going to do, stand there at a meeting and say, you pair of fucking idiots. Look what you fucking started there, we're all fucking slaves. Why did they do it? They was in love. And some cunt said, you two can't be in love. It's not right. This one's promised to that one's promised to that one. It's a part of this empirical thing or whatever it is in the social tribe, the eldest, maybe they were cousins, I don't know. They wandered off and they started their own thing with somebody else and became slaves. They got the idea, probably from something like that. That's the only way I can sort of, I can't, like I said in the other video, I cannot say God is a person that way. But if somebody has to step in and be God, then it's going to be a good person. And I think Jesus he's got the right to do that. I will give him that. He's all right. Good person who will step in and say, you can't want to make it fucking slavery and all that. You think you're fucking God? No, I've got the Holy Spirit, mate. And it's in everybody's safe place to live, make a family, and provide for them. You might perhaps want to say it's a place to live, some good friends, and a way to be with your friends. Is the relationship probably put that. But for the building of a nation, a safe place to live, a safe place to make a family, and a safe place to provide for them. And that's pretty much how you will build any nation of people, or large group of people that will be influential in the world. But yeah, now that I've solved all the world's problems, and I said Jesus can be God, I have to step down there. I've had my time here. Maybe I've influenced somebody. Maybe I've helped somebody. Hopefully. Maybe not hopefully. Maybe expectantly. I've got to try and work out how many buttons I've got to push. Could get frustrated with these stupid machines. There's so many buttons to push, and you put your finger on this, and there's too many links come up. It's not so much on the desktop, but my phone is dropping me nuts. And then it's slower. 1, 2, 3, like, you need a new phone. Like, how many fucking piles of... No, I'm not going to go into it because I will get bitter. So, okay. I haven't got the money for a new phone. I haven't put up. But if it still works, you still want to use it. I mean, this is like old vehicles. If they still work, you still want to use them. But they're no good for the environment. And this other thing for the limitations, the system of being able to limit people in a way that will motivate them to participate in this system that Adam and Eve to blame for. But we might go into that too far because Adam and Eve was involved. He was just trying to make their way in the world. And yeah, leave it there. Good day to you.